It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yusuf.
And my name is Vania.
And remember, guys, shop smart, shop S-smart.
Well, absolutely. Well, we are now back with another second part of the icons.
That's right. We're going to be finishing up our little series today and just breaking down the remaining icons that we didn't get a chance to get to in our first episode. And, well, without further ado, I'm going to take it over to Vanya and go ahead and get us started on your favorite icon.
Well, before I actually get into that, this is probably just maybe, the end of our Halloween Horror Nights series. But if you guys really do enjoy the Halloween Horror Nights content, please let us know that if you guys want us to get into more detail into other things, or if you guys just want to hear other stuff, because I feel like after this we might move on to something else. But if you guys really do enjoy the talking of Halloween Horror Nights just as much as I do, just please let us know, and we'll probably try to arrange something in that category, because it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. But also, I also like talking about anything horror films too. But I know that a lot of us are very deprived from Halloween Horror Nights being canceled this year, and we just need a little bit of universal Halloween Horror Nights spookiness in our lives.
That's true. And another thing, too, if you already have any questions or anything, just give us a shout out on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll answer your questions. And if anything, we can even make a new episode for you. Just depends on the context of everything.
I totally agree with you. So now we are going to go to my favorite icon, which is super underrated, which is Chance the Clown. She was a reoccurring figure at Halloween Horror Nights, an eventual icon for Halloween Horror Nights 26. But let me take you guys a little bit before that. So she first appeared in Jack's Carnival of Carnage in 2007 during live shows as Jack's assistant, which this is the first time that Chance actually had those really big puffy brown ponytails, or pigtails actually, with like the red ribbons, and also had a white corset with a black outline, a couple of clown pom-poms, I think you would call it, going down the line, and also a red tutu. She didn't really talk much. It's much rather of a you can say of a Harley Quinn style of horror. But now we are going to 3 years in 2010, when during the arrival of Fear along with Jack, she still kind of had the same appearance of the 2007 show, which is basically the white corset, the red tutu, but you really do see her prominent in Jack's life. During Halloween Horror Nights 25, Jack and Chance came back to celebrate the thrill of killing in their new show, The Carnage Returns, which is basically almost like a remake of the 2007 show. But now we actually see Jack and Chance in a more equal type of light, which is very impressive to me, because we do see, if you guys do remember us talking about them releasing a trailer with teasing Jack coming in, later on in that commercial, we do see Chance with the victim as Jack approaches to actually say, "Did you miss me?"
Yeah, I remember that commercial. I remember, actually, that was the first time I really learned about Chance, because I didn't really know that she was part of Horror Nights. I just thought at the time she was just Jack's assistant, until Horror Nights until 25, I think, when she played a little bit more of a prominent role in the shows and in the commercials and such.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she didn't really get much of a speaking role until Halloween Horror Nights 25, because she did have a name back when she was more than just Jack's doll and whatnot. But like Chance was definitely, you can definitely see that character, because going back to the audition tapes, not the audition tapes, but basically if you guys go to an article on Google, basically on Jack and Chance's backstory is that when Erin Klein had actually been auditioning for Chance, they told her, "We want you to be more like a Harley Quinn of horror." And what's crazy to me is that Aaron Klein did not know who Harley Quinn was, and I'm like, what? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because most of us, of course, the comic book scene or like basically being a nerd is being more normalized, and I know that a lot of people it takes a bit of time to be introduced to these kind of characters, but they really did describe it to her. But they liked her so much that they gave her time to actually bring this character to life. But her original inspiration came from Baby from House of a Thousand Corpses by Rob Zombie.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I just thought she was just like a horror version of Harley Quinn.
Well, she probably would have known that, but at the same time, she didn't, which I really do appreciate where she got that influence from because I do remember wanting to watch House of a Thousand Corpses after I found out after the fact. I'm guilty. I know I came really late to the game. I really do enjoy House of a Thousand Corpses as a movie, but it's just the fact that she drew from the inspiration of Baby that I just want to watch that movie and just visualize her having that as a influence and then just becoming a Harlequin of Horror is what her title is. So it basically all makes sense. And her maniacacy, is that a word? Maniacacy is basically
I think you mean, isn't it like mania? Just mania?
well, yeah, kind of. Well, I feel like there's a more okay. Let's go into more plainer terms. Insane. She's just a more insane horror version of Harley Quinn. But we do gotta appreciate that she derived from something completely unknown, and now she actually is a really big Harley Quinn fan. As if you go to Erin Klein's Instagram, she actually did a punk version of Harley Quinn.
Oh,
I
that's really
think
cool.
2 years ago in MegaCon, I think.
I'll definitely have to check that out. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. So for Howling Hornets 26, Chance actually went through a redesign, including the diamond shaped scars on her face and the multicolored hair, which is basically like her bows, and which is more greenish, like a really dark turquoise green, a red corset, but it also matches with her green, dark turquoise bows. It actually like matches, and her golden eyes. Her eyes are actually supposed to resemble very closely to Jack's, knowing like it's kind of like a ownership type thing. So if you actually look at Jack's design
Hmm.
versus Chance's design, you can actually see that Chance actually, has the same color eyes as Jack, which is the red rims. It almost looks like blood. And then there is the yellow eyes. And sometimes
Okay.
a little bit around the pupil, you will see a red outline as if she was bleeding through her eyes as well. So I thought that was a really cool thing that if you actually see Jack's design versus Chance's, that there's a similarity there, that they are just one and one whole maniac.
Yeah, that's what I was. It definitely comes across that way, and I almost would have thought that because they come from kind of the same evil, like that's why it also comes across that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. So she was made a proper icon for Halloween Horror Nights 26, and she had her own house, Lunatics Playground 3D, as well as her own scare zone, A Chance in Hell. So when this was announced, I screamed my head off. I my friend sent it to me. I actually didn't know about it until my best friend sent it to me. Like, oh, like girl, I know you've been obsessed with Chance for a bit, but like I think you should know about some news. So she slid those that commercial of like basically where she says it's my turn to dance, it's my turn to play, you won't stand a chance. I lost it. I love Chance, and the fact that she was able to get her own spotlight was amazing to me. But
Now,
the thing,
was that commercial, was that the one where like the light bulb was kind of like swinging in her eyes, would like the diamond shaped scars in her eyes would change colors?
yes.
Yeah, I
So
love that
basically,
commercial.
when uh, the the light would change, you would see her in an asylum type dress, and it would I think the numbers were 16. It was something, it was in 2016, but it actually had the date that Halloween Horror Nights was going to open. So it was actually like, instead of like an asylum or like lunatics like serial number that
Hmm.
she was assigned, it was more
A little hint.
like the date that Halloween Horror Nights was going to be premiered.
Gotcha.
So we see the light bulb passing through her. So basically, in this sequence, in the beginning, let me go back. Sorry, I'm all over the place because I'm really excited and I love her so much. Um, in this first sequence, we do see Chance with a red and black eye, but once the light bulb passes through her, it is actually black and green. So this is when we see her in her ringmaster version of uh, her crazy lunacy in her. Basically, she's a ringmaster in her own crazy mind, knowing that she has been caught with Jack as he's back locked up in the box, but she is now back in an asylum, which makes me think that she actually got locked up in Shady Brook Asylum. Don't you think?
I think so too. I mean, kind of going back to what the story that we had for 25 and 26, where after 25 they were both kind of caught, and like I know Jack was put in his box, but I thought Chance was taken to Shady Brook.
Well, I actually don't know because there is no confirmed material on that, but I feel like that would make sense. The
Yeah.
fact that Jack gets put back in his box by some unknown reason, of course, after 25, because they do get caught. But Howling Hornets 26 was more of a, it was more of a, we see Chance's mind, and this is when the story kind of starts to fall off, which is, I feel like Chance was done very wrongly for this, because there wasn't much of a story rather than basically, I loved her scare zone. My favorite part of the scare zone was actually the hung nurse with a tutu covered in blood, and it was literally the best thing. I'm like, I want to take this entire set home. Like, how much is it? But the most disgusting thing of that entire scare zone was one of her maniacs, or basically clown friends from the asylum.
Hmm.
She had an entire toilet bowl, like a toilet seat full of feces, and it actually smelled like it. And I'm like, why?
That's
I
awesome.
actually have that picture. Like, if you guys go back to my Twitter in HHN Cultist, I actually threw in that picture, and to this day, that shit still, like, it's so bad, but at the same time, it's so creative, because basically, it's like we see Chance in this asylum, but we do see her taking over the asylum almost very similarly to how Jack did. But basically, I don't know if it's in her mind or if it actually really happened, which makes me want to know more about what happened to
Mm.
Chance during this time. And Lunatic's Playground is also another thing I feel like she's been done really wrongly. I actually really enjoyed that house, but I just felt like it was very lazily put together, because we do see Chance torturing the security guards of the asylum and basically having her own crazy manic fun in her little mind, of because she's finally the basically the spotlight of her own show, obviously when Jack's locked away.
Hmm.
But like, the thing that bothered me the most was the film that was shown in the beginning of the house. You could tell that it was very budgeted, very lazily put together, and like there was no thought put like behind it at all, other than she gets caught by the cops. They ask her where Jack is, and obviously she becomes like very sassy mouth, and also like tries to like derive from this insanity to basically tried to put them in it. So that was very weird, and it was not a greatly put. Basically, if you take the commercial versus that whole entire backstory they tried to do in Lunatic's Playground, it doesn't compare. It was awful, and I
It was
feel
like a
like this
180.
is, oh yeah, it was something that definitely fell apart. But I really did still enjoy that the fact that she did have her own year, and it had really strong houses like The Exorcist, I believe was one of them. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is also rumored to come back for next year or
Hopefully,
for
fingers
whenever this
crossed.
30th anniversary. But there was just a lot of things, even though it was kind of a failure of a year being the sequel to Howling Hornets 25. It was actually one of the good years, almost very similarly to Lady Luck. Not like I want to compare Lady Luck to Chance because you can never compare, but go off. So we are gonna go now to the personality. Chance is actually the right hand man of woman of Jack the Clown and helped him torture people during the stage shows. I'm like, duh, like, have you heard of the High School Musical references in there? Like, it's like shady. Especially with stuff like throw Zac Efron. Like I know in the first movie or maybe the second movie, I think both of those Zac Efron did not sing at all. But like, come on now, they love to throw shade at Disney, which I don't blame them. But
I mean, that's just so much fun to do when when they're your competition.
I mean, have you heard what they did to them in the tribute store?
I think
That
yeah,
was
I remember
even worse.
you. Yeah, I remember
Anyway,
you told me
we're
about
gonna
that.
address
Yeah.
that later. We're gonna talk about that later. Anyway, so it is revealed that in Howling Hornets 26 material that she resented playing the second fiddle to Jack, and similar in many elements to the DC Comics Harley Quinn, including her personality, voice, and appearance. Just like I went into the backstory, Aaron Klein didn't know who Harley Quinn was, but this was very much the way that they wanted to go about her character. Just like Jack is basically uh, Gacy, the Gacy clown, and Joker, and I think there was something else. Ed Gein, I think. No, I don't think Ed Gein. Ed Gein
Nah,
is an influence for a lot of things, but I don't think this is one of them.
I think I
Uh,
would just leave it at like John Wayne Gacy and the Joker. I think that's
yeah,
like a good combination to create Jack.
yeah, I agree so too. But I feel like there was a third combination. I just don't remember. So then, shown to be a quite happy-go-lucky, even manic sometimes, is often very childlike front of a false innocence. So of course, she does act like she's very innocent of things, especially killing people. But obviously, she tries to justify it with telling jokes. Basically, my favorite joke that she actually says, it's like, "What's funny about a knife?
I don't know what is funny about a knife.
Nothing." And then she just stabs or throws the knife. It like kills the person. Doesn't even care. Like, and it's fantastic. I still love that line, and I quote it to the end, to basically the end of my days, till the day I die. No questions asked. I still
Actually,
love
I
her.
think that's what you should put on your headstone whenever you do pass away.
Oh, for
What's
sure.
so
So
funny
if you
about a
guys
knife?
see
Dot dot dot. Nothing.
nothing, exactly. So she enjoys telling jokes, puns, even though when no one is laughing, basically proving my point of the knife joke. Prone to intense fits of rage and can turn from bubbly chatter to furious screaming at a turn of a dime. And she also fits a giggly asylum patient, a clown's archetype, which obviously that is very known,
Oh
especially
yeah.
in not just the DC universe, but in a lot of horror film stereotypes as well, which I
Yeah,
feel
they
like it
definitely do
still
have that.
goes into that clown phobia along with Jack.
Yeah, it's definitely like a big horror movie trope to have like the almost like a Joker type villain in a lot of horror movies.
But now that you actually like mention it, like now that we actually like have some type of backstory, which not a lot of people actually know the Joker's backstory in DC Comics unless it's the ones that he has lied about and made up.
Yeah,
But
because he
kind
has
of
like
like
a
Jack,
bunch of different ones.
he has a backstory, but do we really know his backstory besides him joining the circus just because he was a reject from his parents? I feel like there was a lot more to it, but it's something that we're gonna have to learn over time as more Howling Hornets events are made.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like many icons, she has a taste for blood and gleefully carries out grotesque murders, which I can tell you that she is very skilled in the knife throwing, even though she's not a trained professional, even though she does enjoy taunting her victims and riling them up in order to watch them scream and squirm. Which my favorite one of my favorite ones, my bad, is the Dick Troll, which they do end up smashing that character in the head, and basically we see his brain splatter all over the place, and the bat has a nail in between the bat, which we actually see in Howling Hornets 25. But we are seeing throughout the years that she is obsessed with a victim named not Samantha. Samantha? I meant I
Is it
don't
you,
even know it's
Samantha?
Samantha. But it's her favorite victim is Amanda, which is she is the one that a lot of people do fan arts of, and that we are all familiar with is like Amanda. Like that's literally. She loves Amanda, and she tries to throw the knife at her to try to determine the next victim's fate, which I think is one of them is the dirty Sanchez, the dirtier Sanchez, and then there was the Whack-A-Troll, and I forgot a couple of the options on the wheel, but you get where I'm going at. But she, I think it's not only referenced in Howling Hornets 25, but it is also referenced in past Howling Hornets shows before she kind of just became a thing. And Shelby Dunham, which is also Wendy Guts, has also done a art of her basically on the wheel and all that good stuff. So if you guys have not checked her out, she actually has a art of Amanda on the wheel with all the options, and it's fantastic. She also appears to enjoy being worshipped, and Jack's maniacs seem to fawn over her, which who doesn't? Because I sure do. I know that Chance is not everybody's favorite, and I get that. And I mean, I know that her year, even though it had a lot of her face thrown into a lot of that part of the year, but like I still very much enjoyed it, and there was still a lot to be appreciative of her if she had gotten another chance. Just like Jack, Jack was just one story, but if we keep tossing like these icons and
Yeah.
getting to know them, I feel like she may have get that one title that everybody has because everybody remembers the director because he has shown up more than like three times, and then Jack, then storyteller. Like we keep them bringing back for each anniversary, and now that I feel like Universal is like concentrating more on those icons because they were so iconic, I feel like eventually maybe they'll acknowledge her. But
Yeah.
a girl can dream.
Funny enough, this is like Chance herself is one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to do this episode of the podcast because out of all the icons, she's the one that I know the least about. So I was like, this would be a good excuse for me to do a good amount of research on her and kind of learn a little bit more about her because I don't really know that much about her like backstory and like who she is as a character. So I was glad that I was able to find some stuff on her too.
Well, yeah, it's not. It's also not helpful the fact that I know an unhealthy amount of shit about her. It's kind of bad. Like this is like I
There's
can
nothing
talk
wrong with
about
that.
Chance all day.
There's
So
nothing wrong
like
with that.
it's funny because there was one time that I did meet up with one of the people from the HHN community, and we hung
Hmm.
out for a bit in the park. And he's like, "So I take it your favorite icon is Chance?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that she's not everybody's favorite, but she's mine." And then I kind of went explaining on why, and then they're like, even though like her year wasn't as strong, I feel like her houses at least that year made up for it. And I'm like, I understand. I mean, there were some parts that were kind of weak, but like I feel like the overall experience, especially being a sequel, kind of makes up for it. So, not just that, but for the fact that she's a female clown and she's cool as fuck. Like, like I said, I can talk about Chance forever. So if you guys like Chance, hit me up.
Actually, another thing that I appreciated too between those 2 years, 25 and 26, was that they were both connected. You know how 26 was like a whole sequel to 25, and I thought that was pretty cool on Universal Creative's end to just make a direct sequel to it. You know.
Yeah, it would have been cool to have them actually go into what they used to do back in the day, which is basically go into the backstories a little bit more. So now that I'm done fawning over Chance like I should be, why don't we go to the next icon, Yusef?
Yeah. So our next icon is Fear, who was the main icon for HHN 20. And a very interesting design to that character, I think. But we'll get to that in a second. A little bit of backstory on him. His real name is Adaru.
You know what's crazy is the
Yeah.
fact that's like, here I go with, you know what's crazy? Take a shot. Kidding. It sounds very anime-ish, like Adaru. The fuck, it's just
You
the
have
fact,
wronged me
but
for the last time, Adaru.
Adaru, but but that's really interesting. I never knew that that
I
was
think
his real name.
if I'm not mistaken, I think it's kind of similar to that Evil Dead thing where it was like a Sumerian god of death or god of fear or something like that.
I can see
Yeah, kind of like
the influence on that
yeah.
for sure.
But it is revealed that he was also the main icon for HHN 20, but he was also revealed to be the ultimate main villain of the entire canon for Horror Nights. So that's pretty interesting, I think, because it was revealed that he was the one that was controlling all the events from the last, from the previous 19 years.
Well, where were you the entire time? Like, I don't understand. Like, I saw him and I was like, yo, you're a tall dude, but like,
Where were you
what
at?
else have you got to, like, exactly, like, where were you at? Like,
I
I
mean,
feel like,
you're super tall. You're not hard to miss. Where you been?
yeah, so it's just the fact that it just feels like a nightmare from like Soul Calibur. Just, I just come out of nowhere. Hey, what's up, guys? Like,
What's
y'all
going
serve
on?
me. I'm like, just because I have the Soul Calibur, like the Blade of Souls, like,
I just
serve
happen to have
me.
the
And they're like,
lantern now.
okay.
Somebody gave me
Sorry,
this
video
light
game
bright.
references. Exactly.
And like, say, yeah, somebody gave me this like weird light bright thing, and like a clown, some dudes came out of it, and some old lady. Like, I don't know what's happening right now.
But in other words, I'm going to take over your park. I hope that's
Exactly.
okay.
So, moving on though, personality wise, Fear seems to kind of hold a dark personality, and also some of the press videos at the time did indicate that he was kind of getting agitated by being kept up in his lantern for so long, and that's kind of why he wanted to break out and confront the guests at the park.
Mm.
But another thing that's interesting is that he does seem to have a little bit of compassion when it comes to certain events. Biggest event being the terrorist attacks of 9/11. He was so taken
Oh.
aback by those that he actually revoked Eddie as the icon for that year, and he instructed Jack to take over for the year.
Wow.
So
That, what a guy.
what a fella, what a
Exactly.
bro.
Exactly.
But on the storyline end of it, though, it is shown that he has been influencing the events through an old lantern that Universal kept in their art and design department. And but back in early 2010, about 20 pictures of previous Horror Nights were found with a bunch of strange burn marks that formed a strange pattern. And now back to these guys, Legendary Truth, they actually analyzed these pictures and found that the burn marks were all part of a puzzle that depicted a symbol. They
Mm.
assembled the puzzle at 9 p.m. on August 24th, 2010. And
Whoa,
during.
whoa, wait, stop right there. Today is August 25th, so you're
Oh my
telling me they did
god.
this?
Whoa, I just
What?
realized that too. At the moment of. Actually, yes. So at the moment of this recording, it is currently August 25th, but it's because it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. It's when we. Yesterday, technically, was the 24th, and that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But wow. So
I was like, oh
that
wow,
is kind of
so
creepy.
deja
Yeah.
vu a little bit. Like I was like, whoa,
we
listen, man, we didn't need to go this far. Like, I feel like we're just like unleashed a bad juju onto the world. I was like, oh god, wow, what have we done? We have pissed off Adaru.
Oh God, I think it's like we just read from
Adaru.
the. I think it's like we just read from the Book of the Dead by accident.
Exactly. You know, it's one of those things like do not read aloud. We still do it anyway.
Yeah. So if you guys started to experience supernatural things happening to you, we're very sorry. You can find us nowhere because we're gonna be hiding.
Exactly. So like, but
So
if you
good luck
guys
with
still
that.
see me posting, just pretend it's my evil twin.
Yes.
Got it. Sounds good. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So after they, assembled that puzzle on August 24th, the Art and Design building suffered a blackout, and that's when Fear himself was unleashed. And soon after his release from the Lantern, he began to manifest over a couple different electronic media. He was actually the first evidence of that was a soundbite from a security camera in the Art and Design building during the blackout. It was just a noise that at first sounded like gibberish, but it actually played a message when you or revealed a message when you played it backwards, and the message was 19 years, 19 cycles. What has been decades for some has been eons for me. On the 20th cycle, I shall be revealed.
Dang. So basically, he's been hiding this entire time, and
Yeah,
well,
I think
still,
he is.
like, I'm not saying like Fear is not like a great icon because I feel like his design, like
Oh
I do remember
yes, I
that
love his
year.
design.
I love it because it's like melting flesh, very grotesque, like almost like he has no eyes, and it's like his
Yeah,
face is almost melting with these wings that basically they're fucking massive, and he's a tall ass dude. But like I'm like, but why though? Like I want the reason why is like why he's like if he's responsible for all these years, it's like, so where were you in Jack's life when he decided to make all those bad decisions? Were you there?
yeah.
Were you present before all these things happened? Were you the demons that took over their lives? Basically, Jack becoming a killer, storyteller eating a fucking monster, caretaker eating people. Then there's the director just wanting to shoot death pornography, and the usher just killing people for bad etiquette. Like, what?
I think maybe it was kind of those things where like it's similar to Pennywise, because you know how Pennywise was supposed to reappear every 27 years or something like that,
Yeah.
but his influence was still kind of felt throughout the town.
Mm.
So maybe it's like something similar to that.
Stephen King, there was an influence. You
Stephen
may want to
King,
look into that.
you genius, you son of a bitch.
Exactly.
um, but anyway, other media that he appeared in was videos, where he revealed that all of the previous icons were actually his pawns that were created to help draw him into the world.
Wow, it's like the
Yeah.
second coming of Christ. Wait.
Yeah.
Well,
Of
yikes.
Jesus.
No, Antichrist. Hail Satan.
And also on September 16th, during the filming of a production Die Rise in a haunted house, Horror Nights: The Hallowed Past, an A&D member by the name of Heather Summers was actually possessed by fear.
Ooh, I want to
And
know who this character is. She sounds interesting. I want
Heather,
answers.
if you're listening, we want to know about you.
Exactly. I want to know, like, did you know about everything in the 19 years? Did you plan? Were you just another vessel, but like an actual significant vessel that actually did stuff?
Hmm.
Like, were you
Yeah.
just dodging from body to body? We would like to know.
Yeah, because maybe it was just like, you happen to be close by. I guess I'll possess you for a second.
Exactly.
But anyway, after he possessed Heather, he demanded that all those watching the event that, the show that they were filming, he demanded they all came to the event so that he could feed on their fear. And he claimed that he is inside everyone and that soon they would all bear his mark. And he held up a red hot branding iron with a double X brand, I mean, the Roman numerals for 20.
Wow, that's not original. Like, are you like Nightingale's blood pit? Like, come on now. Like, let's be a little bit more original than that. Like, if the symbols that you were carving onto the photographs were whatever symbol you wanted it to be, if it's the X, or basically the double X, which is the 20 for the brand, you're unoriginal. I freaking challenge you.
So, after that possession, videos began appearing on the website for Horror Nights that would, but they were all showing Fear speaking through his previous icons. In other words, his five heralds, which were
There he
Jack.
goes. There he
What?
goes.
What?
There he goes.
There he goes. I guess I don't know what's happening right now. What are you talking about?
Basically, here we go. Like, basically, all the things that we talked about in our past part one.
Yes,
This is
yes.
literally all listed up.
But
And
we'll do a quick
literally,
one. We'll do real quick here because it's only a couple. So his five heralds, which are Jack, who represented chaos, the caretaker, who represented death, the director, who represented sacrifice, the storyteller, who represented legend, and the usher, who represented vengeance. Um,
yeah, I
they
think
all
this is
claimed,
something
yeah,
that, I think this is, I don't think we ever actually went into, I mean, we did go into the usher, but I don't remember us mentioning that he was a herald, but it was vengeance, which, um, what makes you think that he is vengeance just because of, you know,
I
of
mean,
the
because
movie etiquette?
I think it's because the cause of his death was because of a rude moviegoer, so that he wants to get
Hmm.
vengeance on all rude moviegoers by killing them.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's at least that's
I
sort of
just
like what
thought it
I'm
was a
thinking.
little bit. I feel like with all the other icons, it seemed a little bit more severe. Since Usher, I
Yeah,
feel like is one of the more modern takes, other than Lady Luck. Like I said, we don't talk about her. The Usher is very such a simplistic uh, icon with a very like a very simple concept,
yeah.
but it really did stood out. Like, and his design is what stood out, and I'm surprised that nobody actually said, "Does he work on Tower of Terror?" Because I would have been mad pissed. But like, the fact that he was represented vengeance, from taking action on someone who was being rude during a movie is what surprises me.
Mm. Yeah, I think it has to do with like I said, it just has to do with how he wants to get vengeance based on the cause of his death.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Yeah. So in all of those videos, all the icons claimed that the previous 19 years were only the beginning, and that a new era of darkness would arrive. So after that, though, HHN 20 began in earnest on September 24th, and that's when Fear revealed himself to everybody in all his terrifying glory.
Oof.
Yeah.
I don't. I like. I think that's the most terrifying thing of it all. It's just, does fear have a voice? I'm very curious about this.
Um, if I'm not mistaken, I think he did. If
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken, because I remember his scare zone used to be in front of Mel's die-in,
Yes.
and
Which
I
is
think,
practically where Vanity Ball was
yeah,
housed,
just about.
and Vamp 55, and Chucky, and a lot of things that I'm trying to remember right now.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think every once in a while during that scare zone, he would make like a speech. But I could be completely mistaken. I don't really remember that scare zone very well.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I was only what,
Granted, that
I
was
think
10
it
years
was,
ago.
I was 14 or like 15. I don't remember too clearly, but I was
What?
around that age.
Oh, you mean your age? I was like, you mean 2010?
No, I was 14 or 15.
Gotcha.
Something's wrong with this. Did I mean
Yeah,
2020?
I think I was being, yeah, I think I was from the same age, either 14, 15, or 16 around there. But yeah, I just remember it. I mean, it was 10 years ago. I'm not an elephant. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But anything, go on.
But yeah, anyway, after the event itself, the lantern's light did go out, and Fear was forced to retreat back into his lantern, where he was to be released again. So, like I said, yeah, kind of similar to Pennywise, where he only comes out a certain number of years, and almost even like a genie. where he has to be released first before he can actually do anything. You know.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was supposed to be released for Howling Hornets 30th. Like, I feel like the pins are the more evidence of that.
Hmm.
Despite the tribute store having Jack, the storyteller, caretaker, usher, and director, but we did see fear in those pins representing
Yeah,
that he might have potentially come back this year.
he might have. Yeah, like maybe he might have broken out of his lantern early or something like that.
Exactly. That's another
Now,
game. How many times, like, you guys are going to take a shot every time I say exactly? Because I notice I said that a lot too. Don't die. Don't go to the hospital because of me. But if you guys want to
please
be
don't.
curious, go ahead. I want to figure out how far you actually guys, how
Yeah, yeah,
far
do
you
that.
guys actually go off.
Send us a tweet with like your count of the following words: like for me, exactly for Vanya, and also basically for Vanya. I guess she says basically quite a bit. I think.
Oh,
So,
get off of my back.
so just send us a tweet with however many times we've said those words.
Oof. If someone is actually going back to listen to the entire podcast, I'd be very surprised.
I would be too. I would be pleasantly surprised because they love this that much. They're willing to sit through those again.
Oh, whoever you are. Please do me justice and don't make me want to jump off a cliff, which I much rather do anyway. Here we go.
All
Let's
right,
continue.
moving on.
I don't want
Dis-
to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
well, anyway, despite being trapped in his lantern, he is still influencing Universal staff members and making them create more creatures, more houses, and more scare zones for future events. However, in recent years, it seems that Fear's influence has corrupted some of the Legendary Truth's senior staff's inner circle.
Hmm.
And in 2015, some of his lantern-faced minions appeared as Jack's maniacs, which kind of suggests that maybe Fear is still influencing certain events in the park.
But, like, Jack's Maniacs didn't appear in 2010, which makes me a little bit curious about that.
Well, no, it says in 2015. What I'm reading on here says in
Well, he
2015.
didn't realize it then, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
cool.
So a little bit of trivia on good old Fear here. He does have the numerals 1 to 20 carved on his right arm and torso. He does have
Hmm.
dolls that resemble Jack, the caretaker, the director, the storyteller, and the usher. Those are hanging off his belt. And in a 2015 Legendary Truth investigation, it was strongly implied that Bloody Mary was the one who played a major role in freeing the icons from Fear's Lantern that year.
That is very interesting. It makes me
Yeah.
want to go back to watch all of the pictures or the videos of Fear at the event
Mm-hmm.
just to see the dolls that resemble these icons and the
Yeah, I've
fact that he
seen.
was responsible for all those years, which is
Yeah,
mind
it's
boggling to me that I didn't realize that.
it's funny because like I've seen on the Horror Nights wiki, I've seen a couple of the pictures of like the dolls, and they're pretty cool because they were all like they look like they were all hand carved from wood, and
Aw.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I'm like I wish they would sell those. I would buy those things in a heartbeat.
I don't think it would last that long. Have you met the Howling Hornets community? Like,
Oh,
by
I
the time
know. Believe me, I've
the
met
Howling
them.
Hornets pins were gone, imagine
Yes,
those
I
wooden
know.
dolls.
I know.
Done. You would have been
But
done.
at the same time, how cool would it have been to get your hands on one?
Yeah, I know. I probably would have bought it because I'm pretty sure they would have charged mad overpriced, but
Probably been like 30
that's
bucks
just
a
me
pop.
though. Maybe.
It's funny too, because like when I was doing the research and I was looking up at the pictures of Fear, his design is so interesting to me. To 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 be a little bit blunt, he looks like if Freddy Krueger went to Silent Hill and fucked every living thing in sight.
Children, you did not hear that.
I'm sorry, there are children listening to this. Hi,
Oh, well,
kids.
I don't know. First of all, don't listen to Uncle Yusef here. But other than that, I mean, I agree. He does seem like Freddy Krueger had his fun with everybody else on Silent Hill,
Yeah,
and just
he
said,
gives off that
"Hey,
vibe,
like, There's a fog, great, I'll be your beacon of light. So now we're going to go into the icons that were never given the chance to receive the spotlight. So one of my guilty pleasures for an icon is Eddie, only because he looks like Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, because he does have that mouth guard.
Yeah, and he does have a very interesting design to the fact of like almost very Texas
Kind of a
Chainsaw
Texas Chainsaw
Massacre.
Massacre look. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Like take those two and they had a baby. That's Eddie. But just add a little bit of Joker in there and we'll be fine.
Man,
What's also
there's a
very
lot of talk about people fucking each other today, huh?
oh yeah. So kids, I think you may want to click away. I don't think your parents would appreciate you listening to this kind of garbage. But if you guys like Halloween Horror Nights, just keep this between you and I and Yusef if he
And
wants
the
to
monster
become
that
an
lives under your bed.
this is why I don't listen to Yusef sometimes. Anyway, so another interesting thing about Eddie is that his makeup is more faded out rather than Jack's. You can tell that Eddie has been locked away from some time before. Also, I don't think he joined the circus. We will be getting into his backstory in a bit, but it just seems like he wants to overthrow his brother Jack, which we all love and adore for his crazy style and well, not just his crazy style, but obviously just being Jack, being a maniac, killing children. We can't tolerate children. Hi, kids. Anyway,
Hi.
so his real name is Eddie Schmidt, which is also very similar to Jack Smith, but of course this is his brother. So he is also known as Edgar Sawyer and Edgar Diceley. The one thing about Eddie is that he has a lot of nicknames, which
Yes.
surprises me so much because I'm like, all these icons have like at least a name or a real name, but Eddie has like three. Which
Mm-hmm.
one is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like a lot of people had, you know, serial killers had several like identities, like several different aliases that they used.
And I'm still trying to find out who the Zodiac killer is.
Yeah,
Even though it's meant to
it's
be a whole
Ted
bunch of
Cruz.
people. Yeah.
It's Ted Cruz. But something that always makes me kind of chuckle is every time I see his name is Edgar Sawyer, because it just makes me think of Texas Chainsaw. Because
Oh
all the
yeah.
family from Texas Chainsaw, their last names was Sawyer, so I don't know why it's like a nice little reference.
Oh no. See, having babies. This is their love child.
See, I think like instead of the regular intro, I'm just gonna add like a little like R&B music to it. Like oh yeah.
So, Eddie was intended to be the icon for Halloween Horror Nights 11, which is the year that unfortunately 9/11 happened, but due to the title of having terror in it and the fact that it was very gory and they didn't want to scar their guests, they had to remove a lot of things. You guys already know about that. But due to the 9/11 attacks, Eddie was pulled and replaced by Jack, his brother, unfortunately, because Jack is somehow better. He is, but I love his brother just as much, just saying. But he was also meant to appear in the Run Haunted House, which it was supposed to be his icon focused house.
Yep.
But he would later appear in events in houses such as Howling Horror Nights Nightmares, Run Hostile Territory, Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem. So it is that spotlight that he rightfully deserved during that year, but only got it during the anniversary years. And I still think that he should actually get at least 1 year. If he was included in the pins of this year for the 30th as an
Yes.
icon, I feel like he should
That's
have
a
a
good
rightful first
yeah.
year.
That's definitely a good sign that they might be considering him as an icon for a future year, which I would
I
like.
mean, they have strayed away so long from the Halloween Horror Nights were strictly derived from the IPs and the originals that I feel like they should go back to that streak of also having icons as
Yeah.
well. But that's just me though.
So tell us a little bit more about Eddie in terms of like his backstory and such.
So, something that you guys already know, since I mentioned this a whole bunch of times, is that Eddie is the brother of Jack the Clown. Duh. Was also born in Shady Brook Rest Home and Sanitarium in the late 1800s, which makes me think how much younger Eddie is compared to Jack, which I want to say that he might have been just recently born when Jack was, like starting to realize that he wanted to join the circus, or the fact that he hated his parents. Who knows? Sibling problems. But he was portrayed as having been obsessed with 80s slasher films, particularly those with chainsaw wielding maniacs. So, in other words, Leatherface. Got it.
Yup.
So, I
Something
mean,
that's interesting to me, though, I think he might be similar to Jack in terms of supernatural ability. Because if he was born in the 1800s, how can he like 80s movies? So
good point.
he might be either the same type of supernatural abilities that Jack does, or he's also some sort of uh, immortal being.
I will definitely
Interesting.
think you are right on that. Exactly. There's a
Yeah.
lot to think about. Just like this, my theory of storyteller being Terra Queen is still in the
Hmm.
back of my mind, and I will stand by that until someone proves me wrong otherwise. Anyways, so in his youth, he would set up a haunted house within confined parts of the trailer park he lived in. And a group of teens set fire in the trailer park as a prank, but they did not know that he was still inside. This sounds so familiar. Where have I heard this story
I don't know.
before?
I think I've heard of this before. I think it was a story of maybe Michael Myers. I could be wrong though.
Yeah. Or I want to say Jason Voorhees, but now he drowns because
Possible.
irresponsible, uh, teenagers having sex. Things of the '80s to try
Oh
and
wait,
scare
no. I
you into
thought.
not having sex.
Wait, no. I thought it was Freddy Krueger who drowned.
No, it was no. Oh no, it was Freddy Krueger that got set on fire because of the whole children allegations by the parents.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so how the tables have turned. Love that. So he was trapped and suffered severe burns to his face and hands. Wow, like
Poor
this doesn't
fella.
make it any better. Is this plagiarism? Anyway, he needs some milk. Fuck. Sorry, guys, I had to. So later on, he would open up his own variation of Jack's Funhouse, a game show called Run. Now that I think about it, how would you describe? The thing is, like, I don't remember this house. I do remember, the name, but I don't remember seeing Eddie being showcased or even being
um.
able to talk because that nuzzle on his face seems very uncomfortable. You know what it also
Mhm.
reminds me of?
Mm.
Not just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it reminds me a lot of the nuzzle that a lady from Lady and the Tramp gets put on just so she won't bark.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I'm like, yeah. It
It's
was
funny
like,
because
how would you?
I would have said Mad Max Fury Road when they put that
Oh,
weird face guard
two
on
different
there.
things.
Yeah.
I know that this is a horror podcast, but I also am very guilty of bringing Disney references. But do not fret, I don't like the mouse that much for other reasons. Ask me in my DMs why. Anyway, so inside, the visitors must escape from various torture devices and chainsaw wielders, which sounds like Saw.
See, actually,
Later,
because I know that
hmm?
one of the big inspirations for the actual house for Run, I know it was based on Running Man.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
because Running Man was like a similar situation where like it was a game show, but it represented it had killers inside that represented different countries, and they all had like a specific thing like they did. Like in the I remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, there was one guy that was German and he would use or something like that. I remember his name was like Sub Zero, and he all his kills had to do with like ice.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
so it's kind of similar to what they did in the Run House back in 2015.
I never knew that, so
Yeah.
that is interesting to know. But later on, with the help of Jack, he would reopen Run, and this time it was filled with a murder for hire business where Eddie and his associates would torture and kill victims for profit. Like, tell us something that is new. It is Horror Nights. We are the guests that they torture. It is fine. I'm okay with it. I actually like Eddie, so I'll die happily. So promoted under the name of Oddfellows Ultimate Ventures. Excuse me, Oddfellow? Who brought you into the equation?
I
Like,
think they were just doing it just to kind of pay homage, because maybe Eddie did also work at the carnival for a bit.
you
Possible.
were just a baby. Poor child. But then, it does really does make me think, after Jack had escaped, not just escaped, but the 60 years where we experienced Jack coming back, and Eddie was very like obsessed with like 80s movies. It makes me think that, even though they were a few years far apart, they could have potentially worked for Oddfellow. So maybe it would have made sense. So
Yeah, it's quite
I'll give it
possible.
that. So, with business catered to the rich uh, clientele, which would meet the same fate as the victims that they hired. Well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, similar to
and
Hostel.
oh, so like in horror films, we can't be original now, can we? Anyway, but I really still very much enjoy Eddie. Eddie is, like I said, one of my favorite characters for being such underrated with a very small percentage of like backstory to go off of, not as much as Jack. So the original plans for Howling Horror Nights 11 featured Eddie and his chainsaw drill team going to war against Jack and his clowns. Wow, like
That would have been interesting, right?
I would have loved to see that. Like, fuck storyteller year. Take me back to this year. I
Yeah,
want to see this.
I want
Like,
to see. I want
bring
to
it
see
back.
the Great War of Horror Nights.
And also the Chainsaw Drill team that has made such a big impact on the
Yeah,
event. I'm still waiting. Ever since we did that last Icons podcast, I've been very curious of like how the like this drill team came to be and how they got so involved with Horror Nights, or if they're still involved with Horror Nights. So this version was not related to Jack and hated the clown due to his supernatural tendencies. The storyline was removed for the event along with Edgar Sawyer, and the event focused on Jack's return. So it was supposed to be an amazing planned out year, and I was all
yeah,
for it. But then again, I was too young to even go. So what was the point of all of that? But
yeah.
at the same time, I feel like one day Universal might revisit this icon and maybe give it the spotlight that he
Oh yeah.
deserves.
I don't think they're gonna do something. I don't think they're gonna do what they originally planned, where they were gonna kill off Jack just because Jack is so popular now. I
They
mean,
have
like
threatened
you
it
said,
so many
yeah,
times.
like you
They
said, they
have
have
threatened
threatened
it
to do
so
it.
many times.
And
So
who
many
knows? They
times.
they might at some point just take just go for it and say fuck it, just kill Jack off.
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna even throw off Jack anytime soon or even kill him. So
No,
I
probably
think they're
not.
going to use him for a really long time.
But who knows? They might surprise us at one point and just be like, boom, he's dead.
I'd be very depressed.
I
Just
mean,
do
I
that
would
with
be.
Lady Luck. The fact that they acknowledged her in the tribute store, I was not amused. Oh, but HHN Legacy posted a picture that I didn't even realize that it was of Howling Horror Nights 18, which is Bloody Mary's year.
Yup.
And all you saw was a picture of her mirror. She was like non-existent. I'm like,
Great.
do you guys really
Love
don't
it.
want to acknowledge her? Like,
Come on. Like
exactly.
that's a little harsh. Yeah, that's a bit
I
much.
was like, you guys put so much thought into it. If you guys haven't listened to our last podcast, it was a lot of material based on Bloody Mary, but holy
Oh
crap,
yeah.
like she was not acknowledged at all in the tribute store, which made me super surprised. All you saw was an empty mirror that was cracked.
Yep, that was about
I
it.
was concerned.
I was concerned.
I was very concerned.
It's funny because when
Poor Bloody
last
Mary, rest in peace.
uh,
Memorabilia forever.
when me and a couple of friends and my brother we went to the tribute store and I point out the mirror to my brother and this little bastard goes up to the mirror and just starts saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. One of the team members stopped him and she's like, "You better not."
Mm.
And then he just starts going Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, and I'm like, this kid, I swear. It's like
He
he's
knows what
that
he's doing. Oh man.
he's that dumb kid in the horror movies that unleashes the demons. That's him in a nutshell.
We gotta love that. So, now that we have gotten through Eddie, tell us a little bit more about our next icon that should have gotten a
Yes.
spotlight.
Yes, so our next icon is Cindy. She is the daughter of Albert Kane, the caretaker, and was the unused icon for Halloween Horror Nights Islands of Fear.
Oh my god, she was so cute. I loved her so much.
She was very much like a Children of the Corn type thing.
Oh yeah. My
Which I
type of
like.
child. My type of love child.
So originally, though, each island at Islands of Adventure was meant to convey that everything was a part of Cindy's disturbed mind. However, they did have to change her story because at the time there was a string of child abductions, and she ended up being replaced with the caretaker.
Oh,
Which,
so like it makes me think like did they have thought of the caretaker before this all
well,
happened, or was it like let's try to bring something else that has kind of been involved with her but not really?
so based on the original story for Cindy, she was going to be the daughter. She was originally the daughter of a funeral parlor owner.
Mm.
Um, but like it was going to be kind of a similar story, but instead of focusing on the caretaker, it was going to focus on her.
Mm.
But with all that stuff that was going on with the child abductions, they decided to kind of switch the story around. Cindy played a smaller role, if even a role, and it was mostly just based on the caretaker. Similar like style of story, just different characters. So there wasn't
Well,
the they really just changed some characters around, didn't really change the overall plot, I guess.
yeah, that makes sense.
And I
I
mean, I
mean, it's
do
just the
appreciate
fact that
that.
like Cindy is my type of child because I don't like children. Ask anybody. I don't like children. I laugh when children get hurt. But I feel like, if a
kids
child is
don't
willing to
listen to
do,
kids don't listen to Aunt Vanya now.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. So if they're doing willing to do my bidding for me, as if killing my enemies or like, taunting them in their dreams, I am all for this. I am willing to pay you in candy. So, for sure,
In candy.
in candy, yes. What would you like it with?
What I do
Yes,
appreciate though
darling.
is that Universal didn't completely just throw her character away because they did kind of bring her back and just made her a part of the story with the caretaker, whereas she's now the caretaker's daughter.
Nice.
Yeah, so I appreciate that it didn't just get rid of her. That she was able to make a comeback. Kind of the same thing with Eddie.
Always honored once you come up with it. The one icon that was never brought to light was Jill, but there's no backstory on her other than she was actually supposed to be Jack's lover, other
Ah,
than Chance. But
interesting.
she was very much scrapped. There's nothing else more to it, so
Yeah.
we can't give you any more information unless it becomes canon. But for now, Chance
Or
is
if
the
we
real
find it,
lover.
or if we find any information, because I didn't really know that much about Jill. I didn't even couldn't find anything on her. Really.
What's funny is that Jack and Jill. Oh my
Yeah, of
gosh.
course.
So let's go back to little Cindy.
Yeah, so Cindy was also planned to be the main icon for HHN 20, but instead they just decided to go with Fear, which I think kind of makes sense. It would just be a little bit jarring if they just jumped to Cindy for such a big anniversary year.
Yeah. You know what? It reminds me of the time that I don't remember which year this was. Do you remember the year that they were projecting old Halloween Horror Nights commercials onto the walls of the waiting queue? I don't know if that was exactly
I
25
think
or
that
if it
was
was like
it might have been because I know they do it every once in a while. They keep doing it. I think.
Yeah, so there was a year where Cindy was very prominent, especially when you see her in those little clips where you do see her holding the caretaker's hand, which was very eerie to me. But I don't remember if it was 25 or if it was one of the
And
IP years.
it might have been. It might have also been like 27 or 28 because I kind of remember seeing that too. I know during
Yeah.
like 27 and 28 they showed quite a bit of of the old commercials.
So if you guys remember, please let us know. Or if you
Yes.
have the video, please send it to us because we
Just
love seeing
educate
that
us.
anyway.
Just
Exactly.
educate us.
Mm-hmm.
So now a little bit of trivia on Cindy though. In her house for HHN 20, which was called the Orphanage Ashes to Ashes. Actually, this is part of the scrap lore for 20. It is said that Cindy has pyrokinetic powers, but that power has not been seen in later years for unknown reasons. So it's possible that she did have powers kind of similar to Carrie,
Mm-hmm.
but it hasn't really been confirmed. So it might be at some
Mm.
point. Now here's what's interesting. She was originally blonde, but as she became evil, she evolved into a darker side with darker hair, a darker look to her, and the dark look is actually meant to represent her as a porcelain doll.
Aw,
And
that's cute. I actually
and
like that.
yeah, it's an interesting little take, right? To like, oh, now she's more doll-like. She's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
creepier.
You know, I'd never understood the phobia of people with dolls, other than, of course, Annabelle and those other creepy, unlike
And
actual, factual, creepy, like,
you
characters.
you
Chucky.
can't forget Magdoll from the ET ride.
Oh,
Magdoll
stop
is
it.
straight nightmare fuel.
That's like, come celebrate with us. Oh,
You can't
God.
even see her eyes. That's what freaks me out. Like it doesn't look like
That's
she
like
has
a baby
eyes.
face on a plant, and it's not normal, and it has
No,
eyelashes.
it's terrifying because she has like eye holes, but she doesn't. You can't see her eyes, and it just freaks me out.
They're like all the way in the back of her head, literally.
Yeah, please refurbish her just for my sake.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure you've heard me do this every time we go on ET and I see Magdal. I'm like, ugh.
Like, please
Like I always make
burn
that
it.
exact same
I
sound. I'm like,
mean,
ugh.
we all say burn it, but one day that if they ever remove her, we're gonna miss her so much.
I don't.
And
I'm
how
not saying
much
remove her. I'm just
nightmare
saying.
fuel she would give us.
I'm just saying maybe clean her up a little bit. Cause oof,
She look rough.
Magdal looking rough. Well, anyway, going back to Cindy. When she did burn down that orphanage, she actually got herself burned as well, and that caused her to wear a porcelain doll mask, and that gave her an even darker look, because now she actually looked just like a porcelain doll.
Aw, I think that's so cute, but it's like
It's
sad.
interesting, yeah. Like I can imagine, I'm not looking at a picture of it right now, but I can just imagine that look right now, and it's really cool. It's just an interesting design, I think.
I
What I
agree.
Yeah, what I do like too, and this is just as a video game fan, that part of her development from good to evil, a lot of it takes inspiration from the character Alessa from Silent Hill,
I've never played the Silent Hill games, so you're gonna have to educate me on that.
and that'll be for a podcast episode because I want to do an episode on Silent Hill.
That's fair. I'm like the only horror games that I've actually really played are Dead by Daylight and what was it, Dead Space. But
Ah,
even then, I still have to do some research on my end. I mean, I feel like if I even played Silent Hill, that's like nightmare fuel. But I feed on adrenaline, so it's
mm.
fine. So it's gonna be great. But lastly, we this is a icon that was long speculated for Halloween Horror Nights 30, and but we haven't gotten an actual confirmation other than the speculation maps where she I think appeared once or twice.
Well, it was
But
even the Scaresome shirt from this year, the tribute store, didn't wasn't she in that shirt too?
I feel like she was too, yes. So now we are going to be talking about the Terror Queen, aka the storyteller, in my theory. But obviously, that's not canon. We're just going to have to bother the Universal creative team to give us a little bit of to see if I'm right or not. But she actually ruled over the land of Terra Crentis, which is a story told by the storyteller during your journey in Halloween Horror Nights in Iowa. So she stalked the land on her motorcycle and commanded her blackguards and other followers, and she was always present when the ceremony of blood was going underway. And it concluded every ritual with a sacrifice of pure blood, one of the keys for making a ceremonial dagger, which this makes her seem very cool. The thing that I have noticed about Terra Queen is that
Mm-hmm.
her design is very similar, as in skin wise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm. It's you know how she's very wood like, almost Mother Nature gone wrong, but her,
Yes.
uh, but her design really does reminds me a little bit of Fear, because Fear has those wooden features,
Kind of
but
like a
also
wooden
that
look to him,
melting
yeah.
flesh, which is why like if you look at his eyes, it's almost melting, crossed over, almost like wood, and maybe his head, but her head is like almost all veins and almost like melted flesh too. When you see her from the top up, which
Yeah.
her head kind of resembles a crown.
What if the
So
Terror Queen is Fear's wife?
you know what? I kind of fuck with it, so don't give me any more ideas. So everyone in Terra Crentis was forced to worship her and follow her every command. So this is a little bit self-explanatory. It's from a lore created by Elsa Strict, which is the storyteller. Very mythological like, but she is a very interesting character. So in her personality, she is cruel and heartless. Wow, what a queen! Who I aspire to be. I had lawbreakers sent to the body collectors. I almost said bloody collectors, but same thing. In Gorewood Forest, and she could not speak, only hissing, growling, shrieking, and roaring sounds.
In other
You know
words,
this
she was a Karen.
a Kieran.
A Karen.
A Karen. Oh, they said a Kieran. Who's a Kieran? I was like, oh, a Karen. Got it. You know, she. It sounds like she's like almost like a Medusa type character, but it's
Possibly.
obviously
Yeah,
instead
something
of
similar
like
to
the
that.
seductress type, it's more of a, hey, I'm gonna sacrifice you. Hope that's okay. By the way, I'm gonna make a dagger out of your flesh. Is that okay too?
Cool,
Like
thanks.
consent, not really, but go off. Not in the horror world, at least. So her interpreter, Eel Mouth, was always close by when she needs to start the ceremony at the Terra throne. So what's more interesting about this character is at the end of the Halloween Horror Nights 15, it is told or heard that, or I mean, if this is a confirmed thing, she was sacrificed on Halloween night during the event, and it is told that she comes out every certain amount of years. How many years is it? I don't know,
Yeah,
because this is
there's
the
no.
30th year, and if this was the case, she would be coming back every 15 years.
Yeah, because otherwise we've received like no confirmation on that whatsoever as to like what type of time period we're looking at in terms of her return.
So it's almost going like hand in hand with your it theory,
Mm-hmm.
if that was the case for this year.
It's interesting because maybe somebody has to like the storyteller has to make another like has to write a sequel and she just hasn't written it yet or something like that.
Yeah, this is true. We haven't heard from the storyteller in a really
She
long
has.
time. I feel like the caretaker has had a lot of say, and the director, but the storyteller is the one that doesn't have a lot of say in
Yeah.
the icon world, which is very weird because she is the herald of legends,
Yeah.
basically, but she also like if you ask her where she's from, she will threaten you in the most nastiest of way, which of course backs up my theory that she's the Terror Queen, because she would only know about that night or the story. But you know, like I said, that's just a fan made theory that I'm thinking of if you were to think about it from my point of view. But,
Yeah.
I still think the Terror Queen is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I definitely think her character was pretty cool. Like her whole concept of that year really was interesting. How like the entire event was focused around her and how it was all like her kingdom.
Even though it was supposed to be based around the storyteller, but
Yeah.
it makes me wish I had gone back in time to even visit those times to see how that would have played out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like having two people on the spotlight almost.
Yeah.
So, this has been a long ride of Howling Horror Nights icons. So, I really do hope that you guys enjoyed hearing about all these backstories. I know that's kind of long and we kind of ranted a little bit. I know I kind of ranted so much about Chance, but I'm pretty sure that Yusuf has his favorite as well.
But we have that passion. Just you know that I can talk all day about the director.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like the other day, we actually Howling Horror Nights bounded as a storyteller and director, and
Yeah, it was a fun
we took
time.
some pictures. It was fun to create that look. I also dropped a video on my YouTube channel,
Yep.
how to create that look, and also a lot of people have been asking me to do more of a slower pace video of those looks, which I will be planning to do soon. But I thought it was really cool that I had someone to Howling Horror Nights bound with me. So.
Yeah, we definitely got to do it again. This was fun.
So next time I might do Cindy since the storyteller dress that I used for her was very similar to hers. But we'll have to see and find out. Another one that
Yeah.
I want to recreate is Jill, but I can't find out a whole lot of backstory on her, and that's something that we might do a little bit of research on our own.
Yeah, let's see if we
But
can find some stuff.
I know that she was just a concept art, very similar to Jack. But she was only just a rough draft, I guess.
Yep.
Very unknown, basically. Like I said, the whole Jack and Jill dynamic. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast. Where you guys can find me personally, I do makeups, talk about horror, horror nights, universal stuff on my YouTube channel at HHN Cultist and Twitter. If you guys like to hear a lot of horror night stuff or horror things or makeup, then you guys can follow me there as well. I love making a lot of horror friends and just following everybody with the same passion. Where can we find us, Yusuf?
Yes, so we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Sounds from the Grave, and you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts.
Wow, he
And
actually remembered this time.
yes, and Vanya's last vlog for HHN Cultist, I forgot to mention that you can listen to our Spotify.
Yeah, which I added a whole bunch of bubble sounds, which was absolutely great. And I awkwardly zoomed in. So if you guys want to see his awkward zoomed in face, that is also a very fun
Yes.
sight to see. So if you guys want to head on over to see that,
Yep,
even
and then
towards the
and you can
end.
also hear Vanya say about how she ate butterbeer.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun time. As you guys can probably tell, I suck at talking, at least a lot. And then, because then I'll start mixing up my words and then I'll just mess up. And yeah, so it's not a fun time. But I still like talking about these horror things. And I do it because I enjoy sharing my passion with you guys. And I'm pretty sure Yusuf does too.
Oh yeah,
And we can talk about horror all day long. And I would never get tired of it. So it's fine.
because there's so much to discuss when it comes to horror.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I do want to take this opportunity to kind of give a shout out to this little project that we've been involved in. Um, that was set up by Hung Up on Theme Parks, another fellow podcaster, and it's between us, him, and a bunch of other people in the Horror Nights and theme park community.
Yeah, and it's one of those really exciting projects. We are creating our own Howling Horror Nights event. It's going to be more auditory more than anything, but if you
Yeah,
guys want to see how our planning is going along, I would hop on over to Hung Up on Theme Parks. YouTube channel, and you would see a video with all of us there planning, and it's like an hour and 33 minutes long, but I
But it's
promise
worth it.
that you won't regret it. It's a lot of stuff is going on, a lot of exciting things is going on, and we're slowly but surely growing on this project as well, because we do want to
Yeah,
bring a fan made event auditory, but it's something that you guys can look forward to now that Howling Hornets is canceled, and all we can live on is on the joy of the tribute store,
exactly. That glorious, glorious tribute store.
which, Universal likes to come back on our money. So we're talking
Oh
a
yeah.
lot, so we're gonna go.
Oh yeah. So I guess this is where we're gonna end this one. We will see you all next week.
All right.
All
Night,
right.
y'all.
Bye bye.